Alright, I'm back, and here is the cutscene that normally plays when you finish off your fourth boss. Yes, this is the cutscene that plays if the Enigma shot actually fails. And I thought it would be interesting to watch a little bit of it so you can spot the differences. You know, if you destroyed 62% of the colony, you'd think that would be enough. If only 40% of the colony is coming for Earth, then, that's probably not going to be as destructive as 100%, but whatever. If you fail to destroy the colony with the Enigma, you at least get +1 hours on the clock, which kind of makes Dynamo's fights a wasted time. I mean, he spends 1 hour and, you get an hour back if the Enigma shot fails anyways. So now we're moving on to the second half of the main stages. To be honest, I kinda like the second half better than the first half, although for Spiral Pegasus here, there's going to be some pros and cons to talk about, so there's that. Anyways, I could have turned X5 into a 1 hour playthrough if I had just skipped these next 4 stages, because I could have done that, because the Enigma shot actually succeeded for me, but I reloaded it until it failed. And the reason I did that is because these stages are not repeats, and they're actually interesting to see. So unlike with Mega Man Zero, where I skipped stages and just went straight to the end game because the only stages left to play for me were repeats, this time around, these are all new stages. So this stage is themed around disarming bombs before they explode, and on extreme mode they explode very quickly. That bomb that I just got hit by, that one is very difficult to get if you do not mess up, but with the Tri-Thunder, it's very easy to catch some of the bombs before they explode, so again, this weapon is proving to be very excellent. But now we have something very boring. It is a long, drawn-out elevator sequence, which every X game has to have, and you can't even just drop to the bottom, because you have to wait for the elevator to crush these platforms. Why are those even there? Who designed this place? This is our Repliforce airbase, which is why we're seeing a bunch of Repliforce soldiers. That's kind of the theme here. And I did goof just a little bit. I forgot about the weapon tank. It's actually right there, but we'll get crushed by the elevator if you take too long. But yeah, it's a weapon tank. No one was really going to use that. I guess there are some very, very special cases where you might need to actually refill some weapon energy, because there's no way to get infinite weapon energy, unlike in X4. Anyways, here's the most ineffective virus head ever. This space here actually has no enemies in it whatsoever. You just sit here, you duck to avoid getting crushed by that spike ceiling. It just seems to me that this stage, the beginning and end parts of it are actually really good, but this middle part with the virus head that just floats after you, it's like, what were they thinking? And more elevators. But at least this time there's going to be bombs that you have to disarm, and a bunch of Reploids that need saving. They don't do anything in this game. I already mentioned this, but they don't do anything but give you an extra life. It's X6 where they become kind of important. And annoying. And we'll get to that. Anyways, there are more bombs up ahead that we have to disarm before they explode. This is pretty easy with the Tri-Thunder. It actually destroys that giant enemy in one hit, and if you saw earlier in the stage, I was trying to hit it with a Goo Shaver and actually show off that weapon, but it turns out that enemy is immune to the Goo Shaver. I don't know if that's just something in the vanilla game or something the mod does. I don't really know why the mod would do something like that. Anyways, behind that last bomb was the heart tank for this level. There are still heart tanks to be found in the stages themselves, and combine that with the heart tanks you can potentially earn after killing a boss, you can actually collect a lot of heart tanks if you pile them all onto one character. Of course, the mod makes it so that any heart tank picked up is given to both characters, but if you collect a lot of heart tanks, you'll wind up with a lot of health like I do right now, so yeah, I'm just thinking that maybe I might have trivialized the game by collecting all of those hearts, even though, the point of this playthrough is to try not to trivialize X5 as much as possible. But whatever, we have a boss fight here. Spiral Pegasus is basically an enhanced remake of Storm Eagle from X1. You fight him on a plane that's in the air, and he dashes all over the screen like this, but one thing that Spiral Pegasus does that Storm Eagle didn't is that he might actually be able to push you off the plane to your death if you are not careful. There's a lot of knockback if you collide with him directly. And then we have his recreation of Tornado Hold from Mega Man 8. But yes, just fire enough charge shots, quick charge, still being the best here. And I could probably do with a little practice on this boss fight, but that's okay. With him down, we get his weapon, the Wing Spiral, I think it is called. It's not really that good, it's just an upwards tornado that gives X a lot of lag. He's got a lot of frames where you can't do anything. So yeah, another X5 weapon where it's not really that usable at first glance, and even after playing around with it a little bit, I couldn't really find anything to do with it. Rising Fire from X4 is a weapon that goes directly above you and doesn't have nearly the amount of lag. So, I really don't know why they keep making these weapons have, like, such huge downsides to them. It's like the weapon designers were on break or something. So I got another part. It's called Burst Shot, and I really don't know what it does. I think it allows you to fire more rapidly. I'm just gonna equip it because I don't really know what it does. So we're moving on to the stage of Spike Rose Red, who, I'm aware that the changes to the boss names to make them into Guns N' Roses parodies was a localization thing and not something the original game developers did. But this stage, it really just feels like a deliberate Guns N' Roses reference, because in the background you have giant guns and roses. And Spike Rose Red, honestly, was begging to be renamed Axl the Red after Axl Rose. So that's something. Anyways, this stage has a lot of ropes, or should I say vines? Either way, it actually makes use of the rope climbing mechanic to create a vertical part of the stage here with a bunch of spikes. And they kind of use this in a couple of other X games. Obviously, it's going to come back in X6. But they also used it in Mega Man Network Transmission, and they really just stopped using rope climbing at that point. Like, I think 04 had something similar, but it wasn't really quite the same thing. They really ought to try having more rope climbing. It allows for more creative stages. Like here you've got ropes over a bottomless pit. That's nice. Of course, if you get hit by anything, you can just still hold up and you will immediately climb onto the rope again. Yes, we're making some more use of the Tri-Thunder. It's still being a very effective weapon here. So as we move on and jump past a very easily avoided Virus Head, I still don't know what the point of those was, but at least they're appearing a little more often. And we have some free health. I'm actually not sure if Extreme Mode just doesn't let the enemies ever drop anything. I've noticed that on Extreme Mode for X5 and X6, I haven't really been getting any enemy drops. I don't really know if that's a thing the vanilla games had, or if it's the mods being that way, but it sure is making filling my sub-tanks harder. So yes, we're up to Spike Rose Red, who has a couple of abilities from some of the early Mega Man games. You can see that he likes to clone himself like Gemini Man once did. And this Spike Ball attack that he has kind of reminds me of Ring Boomerang. We'll get it ourselves when we defeat him. And he's also got a Thorn Whip, which seems to be common among Rose-themed enemies. Like, they almost always have a thorned whip of some kind. And of course, if you get hit by this one, he actually wraps the whip around you and starts draining health. It's actually a bit questionable, let's say. But anyways, just pelt him with charge shots over and over. Oh, and this attack where he sends the rose petals into the air kind of reminds me of Woodman, but I'm actually not sure if the rose petals even do anything. Anyways, with him gone, there's just 2 more bosses, and the next stage... the next stage is gonna get a little interesting, I would say. So, you guys like poor programming? This ought to be fun. Let's see, what parts am I getting? I actually haven't mentioned it yet, but whenever you defeat a boss, you have to actually wait a couple stages for the new parts to come in. So it looks like I've gotten the Super Recover part, which makes life energy recover more health. Oh, and there's a Dynamo fight, of course. So Super Recover makes all of the life energy pickups recover more health, which is pointless on this mode, since it seems the enemies can't even drop any of that. And I got a Weapon Energy Saver, which doubles the amount of ammo all of your special weapons have, which would probably be pretty effective in certain stages later on. So I will probably equip it for that point. Anyways, we have a Dynamo Rematch. Now, he's not exactly going to be the most difficult thing in the world. So you'll have to sit through a couple of minutes of his excellent theme music, at least. The music in X5, you know, no matter what else I say about this game, or any Mega Man game really, you can generally expect the music to be pretty good, and X5 is no exception. So yes, this is his new attack. It's very, very difficult to avoid, and you kind of have to see it a couple of times in order to know what's coming. They don't even, like, flash the screen or something to let you know where that lightning is going to strike. If it were Battle Network, the panels would have flashed yellow or something. Something like that. Yes, we just have to pelt him with enough charge shots and he'll go down soon enough. I wonder if his level is affected by the whole boss level system. I imagine it would be, but I recall the previous two bosses having a higher level than him, so maybe it doesn't affect them? I don't know. One thing I do know for sure is that in the Improvement Project mod, you actually cannot lose rank. Like, if you notice that I have been rank SA for most of the game, the vanilla game would have dropped me a rank or two by now because I'm not doing as well as I did in the previous stages. So, the two parts that I just got are the Speedster and the Jumper. The Speedster makes it so that your normal walk speed is faster, and the Jumper will make it so that you jump higher. Luckily, I don't need to worry about playing in an unintended fashion because Hyper Dash and Jumper are both obtainable on the same save in the vanilla game, so I can use them both in this stage and not have to worry about it. When you have Hyper Dash and Jumper equipped, the speed of your character just increases significantly. Your dash jumps let you just float in midair. It's amazing. So next up is Dark Necrobat, who is yet another vampire robot. Like, every Mega Man series has to have at least one of those. Shademan from the original series, Shademan.exe in Battle Network. There's a vampire robot in Mega Man Zero somewhere, I don't remember exactly, because it's impossible to remember Zero boss names. And now we have Dark Necrobat. So in this stage we have a very interesting space background with a bunch of constellations, and when those constellations fade out, they actually drop spikes that are in fact instant kill on this difficulty anyways. They might have been just heavy damage in the lower difficulties, I don't remember. But you're going to see that this stage is actually poorly programmed, because the idea is that you have to ride around on this transporter that is trying to buck you off at every turn. Look what happens. The instant kill spikes landed on the platform that you are supposed to ride throughout the stage. Like, I think if I didn't have the Hyper Dash or Jumper parts equipped, then the transporter would have gotten away from me before I could jump back on it after the spikes went away. So yeah, that's a pretty poorly programmed segment. And if you are able to make that jump, you can grab the second sub-tank. I only really needed one sub-tank in this playthrough. So now we're inside a kind of space observatory, I think. And the idea here is that you can reverse gravity by touching those arrows. And it's kind of like Cyber Peacock's stage, in fact. The latter half with the balls that roll around and stuff. So yes, there are in fact blocks that are affected by gravity, and you can actually make those virus heads respawn every time you reverse gravity. So that's one way to actually get infected with a virus, and I think that may have been the intention because there's a heart tank in a very spike-laden area here. So I think the idea might have been to pick Zero and then use his invincibility from the virus to pick up that heart tank. But I can just use regular invincibility frames myself. So, we're almost to the end of the stage here, and oh hey, actual enemies from Cyber Peacock's stage. Just reinforces my statement from earlier. I almost got fully infected, so there is at least one stage where that can happen. So if you solve this hilariously annoying Firefly laser puzzle, you can acquire the first piece of the second armor set in the game, the Gaia armor. The idea of the Gaia armor is that it makes your buster shots very powerful but short-ranged, you become immune to spikes, you can't air dash, and you can't use any of your special weapons either, so that armor is not something I go for on just about any playthrough of this game. I don't really know why they included it, aside from just having a second set of armor, I guess. I've got a nice little figurine of it at home, though. That's the only Mega Man X figurine I own. So, Dark Necrobat, he basically just floats around a little bit and shoots out bats that are destroyable with your buster, so that's not a problem. I've got quick charge, I can still destroy them pretty quickly, and that's basically all he does. This boss is actually really boring now that I think about it. I think he's eventually going to pull out his desperation move. He's certainly got the health for it. Any second now. Wow, what a boring boss. I really didn't think about it until just now. Okay, so he shoots out these sonic waves. They can be difficult to avoid, unless I avoided them completely, which I did. And then he stops time, rushes towards you, and then does absolutely nothing. So we have a time-stopping boss who isn't at all difficult because he does nothing with the concept. Wow. Flashman and Brightman were way, way harder than that. Like, I don't think my equipped parts have anything to do with it. That was just boring. And we're going to have to fight him again eventually because there's always refights. But at least you get a time-stopping weapon from him. The Darkhold is actually going to get used... Well, it'll get used once in this playthrough and then maybe another time. So, the part I just got is the only part that is better than Quick Charge. It is the ultimate buster. It causes all of your buster shots to be fully charged charge shots. However, there's a big cooldown whenever you fire with this part equipped, so it might be slower than Quick Charge shots, but now I don't have to actually hold the button down to charge. I can just fire them off whenever I want. It would also work with special weapons if I had an armor with the ability to actually charge special weapons. And I'm only using Unarmored X in this playthrough. So the final stage is Burn Dinorex, who in the North American localization was named Matrex, which is just awesome. I wish they had kept that name too. So it's going to be a couple of rooms here with very powerful flamethrowers coming out of the walls and very weak enemies. You know, I kind of prefer stages where the danger comes from the enemies instead of the traps, because, you know, enemies you can actually shoot at. Traps, not really. So, in this segment here, this segment is a bit stop and go. You can see that when the lava starts flowing, that lava is instant kill, so you've got to get into the little areas where there's a big shadow. I guess you hide behind the lava or something. X is a robot, so I don't really know if convection applies here, but... You know, you'd think his body would melt or something, unless his titanium alloy is just that good, or something. What did X1 say his body was made out of again? I don't know. So, yeah, this is kind of a waiting game. This first section of the stage isn't really that good, because you just have to wait for the lava to come and destroy that wall, like it didn't destroy that wall the other times the lava started flowing. Like, why do you have to be able to see the wall for it to be destroyed? That doesn't make any sense. So there are going to be a couple of enemies later on. Somehow they magically didn't get destroyed by the lava earlier, you know. And I could have risked it a little bit by dashing forward here, but I decided to play it safe and just show off what the Ultimate Buster does and how it works. And I'm pretty sure you can, yeah, with the Tri-Thunder you can definitely destroy that wall and move on to the next part of the stage. Yeah, Magma Dragoon stage, this is not. Even though there's a ride armor right there. So you have a path split here, and I almost dipped my feet into the lava there. That was weird. So you can either take the ride armor and dive into the lava, because apparently the ride armor makes you immune to lava even though your head is exposed still. Or you can take this top path, which is a bit of a homage to the Mecha Dragon from Mega Man 2. You've got the dragon chasing after you. Those platforms are destructible, so be very careful that the dragon does not decide to blow them up, or else you are going to get stuck. And definitely do not try to climb onto that block above you. That is a trap. You are just going to get killed in the lava if you try that. And then you get to the end of the stage where you have to actually fight the guy, and he's not that interesting. I just fire a bunch of Ultimate Buster shots at him. Like, I really should be trying the other special weapons, but I have this feeling that he's just going to be immune to all of them, which would be very sad. It makes you wonder what the point of those special weapons are. So, through that door you can move on to the next area, and this is where you would come up if you had taken the lava path. However, something that was very annoying about it is that when you get out of the ride armor, if you are touching the lava, then you instantly die, of course. But, like, it was very difficult for people to know if they were able to safely get out of the ride armor, because their foot might be still touching the lava, because they don't know where they're going to come out of the ride armor. So that's annoying. As for Burn Dinorex himself, well, he's a dinosaur, and he is on fire. And, you know, his armor actually reminds me of Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, did anyone notice that? It looks like something one of the characters in that show would wear. So he shoots out fire, he's got a dash move, and he jumps, like that does anything. It can be a bit difficult to get away from his fire burst when he's on the wall like that. They come out very quickly. His desperation moves are pretty cool, though. Hopefully he will actually try and use those. Well, that move can be a bit difficult to avoid. I think I avoided it by luck that one time. Right, so covering the floor in flames, and then, well, I cut him off from being able to finish the desperation move. Anyways, with him gone, it is now time for the hunters to make their second attempt at destroying the colony by putting a pilot into a space shuttle and then having them drive the shuttle directly at the colony so that it collides and destroys the entire thing completely, with the pilot ejecting at the last minute. And of course, because we have to have some drama somehow, the pilot is going to be Zero himself, because apparently he's the only one who knows how to drive space shuttles, I guess. Most annoyingly, no matter how many bosses you defeat, it's possible for Zero to fail to destroy the colony, but we'll have to wait and see if that actually happens. Later, everybody.